Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to the deep dive, where we take a mountain of high-stakes information and distill it into the crucial knowledge you need to be well-informed about the week's most explosive happenings.
And today, we are strapping in for a deep immersion into absolute crisis in Genoa City. Our sources detail a relentless 2-week stretch running from June 30th right through July 11th, 2025. This period is defined not just by tragedy, but by strategic corporate betrayals and some really dangerous emotional exposure.
It feels like a moment of convergence, where the personal and the professional just collide with maximum force. Our exhaustive stack of sources maps out these rapidly intertwining storylines that define this time frame. We've got the tragic sudden death of a central and beloved character.
Huge loss.
Huge, then the immediate, profound emotional breakdown and resulting isolation of Victoria Newman. And on top of that, a high-stakes secret real estate conspiracy involving some major power players.
Right, and don't forget what's brewing overseas, setting the stage for international chaos. The specter of dangerous temptation taking root halfway across the globe.
Exactly. So our mission today is analytical, targeted, focused. We need to cut through the, let's say, melodrama and extract the key consequences, the causal connections from this high-pressure cooker environment. You need to understand how seemingly separate threads, grief, fraud, even flirtation, are actually strategically defining the immediate next chapter for both the Newman and Abbott families.
Yeah, and setting them up for potentially a cascade of crises later in the summer. It's all linked.
And we absolutely must start with the devastating event that acts as the epicenter of this entire 2-week stretch. We are, of course, talking about the loss of Cole Howard.
Such a shock.
It really is. This single tragedy triggers a catastrophic chain reaction. It affects everything from Victoria Newman's long-term mental health, potentially, right through to the urgency of a massive corporate investigation.
It truly is the foundational tragedy. Every emotional choice, every strategic misstep, every act of desperation that follows in this timeline is informed, somehow, by the sudden finality of Cole's passing.
Okay, so let's dive immediately into Section 1, the tragedy in Victoria's crisis of isolation. Because the source material is surprisingly specific about the medical details surrounding Cole's final days.
It really is. Cole died after what the sources describe as a brief but incredibly intense battle with Legionnaire's disease. It's important to note this is a particularly dangerous and virulent form of pneumonia.
Legionnaires.
Ah.
Wow. That's not something you hear about every day in GC.
No, and the narrative choice of this specific illness feels powerful, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's usually contracted from contaminated water systems. It moves swiftly, offers little chance for recovery. It reinforces the unexpected, brutal finality of his death.
And they did try everything.
Seems so. Despite the severity, the sources note the family did everything they could. He was transferred immediately to a specialist hospital, one equipped to treat serious pneumonia cases.
But tragic.
Yeah. Tragically, the illness had just progressed too far.
The narrative does provide a moment of grace, though, amid the horror, which feels essential for closure. For the audience, for the characters.
Absolutely. It was noted that Cole did wake up just long enough to say a final goodbye. Victoria and Claire were afforded that last, painful, but really crucial moment with him.
That ability to express those final words, that final love, it's like a tiny narrative blessing in an otherwise brutal situation.
It is. And that farewell immediately throws Cole's daughter, Claire Grace Newman, into profound emotional distress. The deep dive material highlights she had a severe reaction, unable to control her emotions in that sterile hospital environment. She actually ran out in a panic.
Well, considering her history.
Exactly. This is a character with a complex and troubled past, so the intensity of her grief is multiplied. However, the sources quickly pivot to the immediate aftermath, focusing on the shared, painful journey when she returned home with Victoria.
Right. What stood out in the sources for me was that, despite the crushing weight of their immense grief, the mother and daughter did share a nice bonding moment talking about Cole. It's a powerful, almost counterintuitive detail that they even shared a few giggles later that night.
It really humanizes it, doesn't it? It's a crucial reminder for the audience that grief isn't just one thing. It's not monolithic. It allows for these small, flickering moments of shared humanity and connection, even in the deepest sadness. And it cements their bond as they face this future without Cole.
But as Claire starts that long, difficult process of healing, the spotlight shifts, and the narrative immediately focuses on Victoria Newman. The loss of Cole, who she was finally attempting a genuine relationship with, it exposes a profound vulnerability.
Yeah. A vulnerability we haven't seen in her quite like this since, well, maybe since her days dealing with Ashland Locke. But this time, it feels purely emotional. No corporate games involved, just raw grief.
And Victoria's coping mechanism is famous, or maybe infamous, in Genoa City. The sources confirm her absolute default response to any intense stress or trauma is work.
Throw herself into it. Harder and longer hours, focusing relentlessly on corporate strategy, basically burying herself in Newman Enterprises to avoid processing the emotional stuff.
It's her fortress, right? Her defense mechanism.
Totally. But the sources predict this defense mechanism is about to fail, catastrophically. This time, it appears Cole's death is the breaking point.
How so?
Well, the material specifically highlights the sobbing she displayed in the Thursday, July 3rd episode, describing it as phenomenal and realistic. This wasn't professional stress. This was raw, profound emotional release. It suggests deep-seated regret.
Let's explore that regret, because the sources suggest a specific kind of internal reckoning. What are they pointing to?
The speculation is that this could be driven by deep regret, possibly for waiting so long before taking the final emotional plunge with Cole,
Like she feels she wasted time.
Exactly. The implication is she wasted precious, crucial time. Maybe because of her workaholic nature, her inability to fully trust, or perhaps her history of keeping potential partners at arm's length.
And now that time is irrevocably lost.
Right. And the sources show that regret is manifesting as this uncontrolled pain.
And this raw, exposed vulnerability is compounded by the most critical factor of all, an absolute lack of support.
Yes. Her closest, most powerful family members, Nicky Newman, Victor Newman, Nick Newman, they're all completely unreachable in the south of France.
That isolation, that's the narrative key here, isn't it? The material emphasizes that Victoria and her mother, Nicky, are extremely close.
Incredibly close.
So the fact that her primary source of support and emotional guidance is totally cut off from communication, it makes this isolation during her deepest grief particularly damaging. She is left to navigate the emotional weight of a loved one's funeral and her daughter's fragile state completely alone. No stabilizing presence from her mom or dad.
And she's the type, isn't she, even in this state, who won't want to weigh Claire down. She sees herself as the protector, the strong one.
Even though they could maybe heal together.
Right. Even though both mother and daughter could, and probably should, heal together. This pattern of internalizing and isolating pain, coupled with the inevitable retreat to her corporate bunker, it sets the stage for a seriously dark path.
Which brings us to the really serious and worrying prediction the sources lay out regarding Victoria's immediate future: addiction.
Yeah, this is concerning. The analysis speculates that when the family finally returns from Nice, and they are predicted to return carrying massive corporate and personal bombshells.
Which they always do.
Victoria will decisively push aside her own desperate need for healing. Her corporate default setting will kick in. She'll feel compelled to prioritize business damage control and managing the family crises over her own trauma.
So, pain avoidance.
Exactly. That pain avoidance is the mechanism that drives the prediction. That choice to prioritize external control over internal healing, and the resulting overwhelm when the family dumps new crises on her desk.
It could lead where?
It's predicted to lead directly to a new addiction storyline. The material suggests we might see her start drinking too much or popping pills, just to numb the pain she refuses to face head-on.
Whoa, that's heavy. The consequence of her chosen coping mechanism being totally overwhelmed by circumstances she just can't control.
Precisely.
So, while Victoria struggles with this dangerous isolation and pain, the sources clearly outline that Claire still needs significant support. Her grief is raw.
Absolutely. And especially since Kyle Abbott, another key figure in her life, is also unreachable in these eggs.
Right. So Claire will need ongoing, immediate support as her grief continues, as she adjusts to this new reality.
And this is where the personal tragedy immediately and fascinatingly links up to the corporate and criminal plotline. The sources indicate she will naturally lean heavily on Holden Novak.
Holden Novak. He has a history of helping her manage panic attacks, right? And complex emotional moments. He's a trusted, close confidant for her.
Exactly. He's the safe harbor. But what's fascinating here is that Claire's very specific, immediate need for comfort and support inadvertently places her name, well, in the vicinity of a major criminal investigation.
Oh.
The sources reveal that her name is actually on a list that the conspirator Kane Ashby gave to Holden.
No way.
Yeah. This simple, innocent act of seeking comfort puts her right on the periphery of a massive fraud investigation. It connects her personal tragedy directly to the corporate crisis.
That is the perfect segue. Linking personal fragility to corporate fraud, Into Section 2. The Genoa City conspiracy unraveled. We move from the hospital bedside and the grief counselor's office directly to the back rooms where secret real estate deals were being orchestrated.
And the conspiracy action is spiking dramatically, precisely during the week of June 30th to July 4th. It overlaps directly with the initial shock and tragedy of Cole's death. While Genoa City is mourning, the schemers are making their final moves.
And at the center of this web is Kane Ashby, played by Billy Flynn, who secretly visits Genoa City during this time. His appearance is immediately suspicious, isn't it? Signals a major plan is coming to a head.
Definitely. The sources say his visit triggers a harsh reminder of the past when he sees another familiar face, confirming his presence is rooted in deception.
But the core, the defining revelation for this 2-week period, revolves around Kane's deception and a massive identity fraud. Chelsea Lawson will catch a con job. I love that phrase the sources use.
It's great, isn't it?
Which forces her to recognize that Kane has potentially been posing as the mysterious, unseen, but powerful figure Aristotle Dumas all this time.
And this isn't just like small-time embezzlement. This is major identity deception orchestrated to acquire vast corporate assets under false pretenses.
Okay, but Kane couldn't have pulled this off alone. Who's his accomplice on the ground in Genoa City, providing the operational leverage?
Holden Novak, it has to be Holden. He provides Kane with sensitive updates regarding their secret real estate arrangement during this critical period.
So Holden thinks he's keeping it all quiet, his involvement, his employment.
Yeah, he thinks he's maintaining the secrecy around his continued employment and deep involvement in this complex fraud. But the sources suggest some trouble's brewing. The walls are closing in rapidly, primarily due to the intense and collaborative investigative efforts of Adam Newman and Chelsea Lawson.
Adam and Chelsea, putting their heads together specifically to investigate the Aristotle Dumas shockers. They make a fantastic team, don't they? Adam provides the corporate, ruthless, analytical edge. And Chelsea brings the street smarts, the intuition needed to spot a con job.
Absolutely. They are working tirelessly to determine the full scope and scale of this conspiracy, trying to calculate exactly how much Victor Newman and Newman Enterprises have potentially been defrauded.
And what do they find?
Their collective detective work leads to the definitive, horrifying conclusion. They determined that Holden not only played a part, but actively assisted Kane Dumas in scoring all those pivotal properties downtown.
Downtown properties. That specific detail feels crucial.
It is. Downtown properties in Genoa City are often symbolic of corporate legacy, or they're required for major mergers or acquisitions Victor has been planning. Losing them to fraud isn't just a financial hit, it's a huge strategic vulnerability. This revelation provides the smoking gun, linking Kane, Holden, and the Newman family in a colossal fraud.
This link is absolutely critical because it connects the local investigation directly and urgently to the unreachable Newman patriarch in France.
Exactly. By the end of this high-pressure investigation, Adam feels this deep professional and, well, filial obligation, a duty to share these explosive discoveries with Victor Newman, who's, of course, completely cut off in Nice.
Which leads to Adam immediately catching a flight, a classic dramatic race against time.
Totally. But getting the information to Victor isn't just simple office politics, it's a logistical nightmare. Adam faces a significant physical and geographical challenge upon arrival. It won't be easy to reach Victor due to wiped-out tracks on the mountain.
Wiped-out tracks. That little detail is incredibly important, isn't it? It's the narrative device that creates Victor's total isolation.
Precisely. He is isolated not just from emotional support for Victoria, but now, critically, he's isolated from Adam's urgent, potentially company-saving warning.
This raises the stakes to an almost unbearable level. The question driving the final days of this 2-week stretch is, well, will Adam make it? Can he fight nature and geography to warn Victor in time before the Newman patriarch, unaware of the fraud, makes a serious business error? A final, catastrophic decision based on the false premises created by the Dumas-Ashby scheme.
Adam is literally fighting mountains to prevent a financial disaster orchestrated by the very people his family trusted.
The isolation in Nice is just doubly damaging then. Strategically, it prevents Victor from getting critical info from Adam, potentially exposing Newman Enterprises to massive damage.
And emotionally, it prevents Victor, Nikki, and Nick from providing essential support to Victoria in her darkest hour. It's a masterstroke of strategic narrative choice, amplifying the crisis on both corporate and personal fronts simultaneously.
And that strategic isolation smoothly brings us to Section 3. Scandals and temptation in Nice. The south of France might look beautiful, but it's turning into a truly treacherous backdrop for the unreachable core family.
Let's quickly just reconfirm who is there. Nikki, Victor, and Nick, all cut off from communication, unaware of Cole's passing or the corporate fraud unfolding back home. But the sources also indicate other Genoa City drama has followed them overseas. Amanda Sinclair is also a niece.
Amanda's there too.
Yep, and she's already clashing with Devin Winters while attempting to keep the party going. That adds a layer of existing social and romantic tension to the international setting. Suggests instability even outside the core Newman drama.
But the real danger, the one that threatens the legacy of the Abbott family and the stability of Jack and Diane's marriage, that's the dynamic between Kyle Abbott and Audra Charles, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. This is a direct consequence of ignoring warnings. Despite Diane Jenkins Abbott's explicit, detailed concerns, which she voiced forcefully before they even left Genoa City.
I remember that.
Kyle Abbott is confirmed to be getting too close for comfort with Audra Charles. He's literally walking right into the danger zone his mother warned him about.
And Kyle is exhibiting that classic sign of a character about to make a spectacular mistake. Overconfident.
Totally. The sources are careful to point this out. He assures Diane he has things completely under control, but the material characterizes him as a little overconfident.
Uh-oh. That overconfidence is basically a narrative guarantee that things are about to go catastrophically, publicly wrong for him.
You got it. The time frame of July 7th to July 11th, that's the second week of this deep dive, is flagged as the potential week of seduction. The sources hint strongly that Audra and Kyle could wind up surrendering to temptation if they fail to exercise extreme caution. They're moving rapidly into dangerous territory.
It's like the physical and psychological distance from Genoa City is just eroding Kyle's judgment and restraint.
Seems that way.
Okay, this potential affair is high risk, high reward for Audra. We need to analyze the strategic implications for her, because this isn't just a personal fling, is it?
Not at all. For Audra, this potential entanglement is highly calculated. It could work well for Audra's plan with Victor Newman. If we connect this to the bigger picture, Audra is always maneuvering herself into a position of corporate power within the Newman orbit.
Right.
Proximity to a Newman Abbott heir like Kyle, especially one who is currently compromised or vulnerable to blackmail, that's a massive strategic asset. She leverages personal chaos for professional advancement. It's her MO.
But corporate ambition in Genoa City always comes with a steep personal cost. Always. While sleeping with Kyle might serve her corporate goals by giving her leverage or inside information, this recklessness could severely, if not fatally, complicate her existing personal relationship back home with Nate Hastings.
Absolutely. The source warns clearly that Audra may end up stuck in a mess right along with Kyle. If they surrender to temptation during this isolated week, the fallout will impact her professional standing with Victor, potentially causing collateral damage and certainly destroying her deeply personal commitments in Genoa City.
It's the classic dilemma, choosing high-stakes power over simple prudence. And she's banking that the reward will outweigh the personal wreckage.
Looks like it. A very risky bet.
So as the drama unfolds internationally, Section 4 reminds us that the chaos is not slowing down back home. We've got ripples of drama in Genoa City affecting multiple secondary characters who are equally vulnerable during the absence of the Newman core.
First, we can't forget about Phyllis Summers. Can we ever?
Never. The sources are careful to point out her consistent opportunism. She recognizes the power vacuum created by the Newman's absence and the chaos of the Cole tragedy. She continues her characteristic scheming, trying to gain the upper hand during all this turmoil. She sees crisis as opportunity.
And her method of operation is, well, pure Phyllis. Her methods involve classic spycraft or perhaps just extreme rudeness, as she is seen eavesdropping or literally barging in on someone else's conversation, specifically to acquire important sensitive intelligence.
So while everyone else is grieving or cut off, Phyllis is collecting secrets.
Basically, yeah. In a city where half the power players are unreachable or grieving, Phyllis sees a unique window to scoop up critical secrets that she can later use as leverage. Typical Phyllis.
Meanwhile, a very dangerous and potentially deadly plot is unfolding adjacent to the fraud investigation, the Kane Ashby assassination plot.
Right? Chancellor is actively investigating Kane's claims that someone, a determined, dangerous individual, is plotting to kill him.
And the sources raise the stakes dramatically here, indicating this is not just a baseless fear. The material suggests that someone could make an attempt on Kane's life very soon.
Which could set the show up for a major, high-stakes whodunit mystery that spans the entire summer.
But there's a twist, potentially.
Yeah, what's fascinating from a narrative perspective is the specific possibility of a twist. The sources hint that Kane may not even be the victim. Another character might inadvertently get in the way of the attempted assassination, suffering the consequences instead.
Oh, wow. That would intensify the emotional fallout and ensure the killer remains free, wouldn't it? Leading to a long-form murder mystery investigation led by chance.
Exactly. The question becomes, who is the intended target's enemy? And who is the innocent bystander who might pay the price? High stakes.
And while the crime drama escalates, we also have deep personal struggles continuing with the Mariah-Tessa-Daniel triangle. Mariah Copeland is confirmed to be spinning out back in Genoa City.
Yeah, this emotional deterioration is severe enough that it causes Sharon Newman deep anxiety because she cannot even contact her daughter. Mariah's spinning out. It's a direct link to her own history of emotional instability and past traumas, showing how easily she can revert to crisis mode under pressure.
And this current crisis ties directly back to a previous mysterious event, doesn't it?
He does. The sources suggest that powerful flashbacks are expected to finally reveal the definitive details of what really happened that night between Mariah and the mystery man played by Michael Swan.
Oh.
We are finally promised the clarity on that secretive evening that has been hanging over Mariah's relationship for so long.
Okay, so on the other side of that relationship, Tessa is coping with a difficult separation from Mariah, which is exacerbated by Mariah's inability to communicate.
Right, and as she navigates her own emotional landscape, separate from Mariah's meltdown, she is leaning heavily on Daniel Romalotti Jr. for support.
That specific detail raises important questions about boundaries, doesn't it? Tessa leaning on Daniel for emotional support during a separation is understandable, but given the close proximity and Daniel's own complex feelings.
Yeah, the sources hint at the possibility of emotional infidelity, if not outright cheating. Tessa is vulnerable, Daniel is available. It's a classic recipe for a relationship disaster in Genoa City.
Okay. Amidst all this grief, corruption, potential addiction, and looming violence, both accidental and intentional, we have a vital, essential counterpoint. Something that stops the narrative from just collapsing under its own weight. A glimmer of happiness.
Thank goodness for that. We need it. Danny Romalotti is providing the emotional balance the viewers need right now. He is actively planning a marriage proposal to Christine Blair.
Oh, that's fantastic. A moment rooted in history and stability. A genuine sign of hope and enduring romance.
Totally. The outcome is highly anticipated and needed. Danny is poised to get down on one knee and ask Christine to marry him. The sources suggest their engagement could be locked in soon, potentially providing that rare, much-needed moment of celebration.
Something to balance the widespread tragedy and corruption defining this particularly dark July sweeps period. It shows that life and love can persist even when the world around Genoa City is collapsing.
It truly is the one point of light breaking through the darkness that this relentless two-week stretch has plunged the city into.
So let's sum up. What does this all mean? We've analyzed multiple, incredibly high-stakes situations that are converging simultaneously. They're threatening both the Newman and Abbott dynasties. We have a deep personal grief leading directly to the risk of substance abuse for Victoria.
A major, sophisticated real estate fraud being uncovered that threatens Victor's assets.
And a dangerous potential affair occurring while the Newman patriarch is strategically isolated by nature itself.
And the common unifying thread across all these major storylines, whether it's in the corporate offices of Genoa City or the isolated mountain retreat in Nice, is isolation and subsequent misguided coping mechanisms.
Right. Victoria is turning towards substance abuse and overwork because she is isolated from her family support system.
Kyle is turning to Audra because he is overconfident and isolated from the restraining influence of his mother and wife.
And Adam is literally fighting isolation, those wiped out tracks, in a desperate bid to deliver vital preventative information to his father.
The entire ecosystem of Genoa City is under extreme stress, and the safety net, the unified Newman family, is completely absent precisely when it is needed most.
And this detailed analysis leads us directly to the final, critical, provocative thought for you to consider as you process this 2-week deep dive. We know Victoria's history of using the corporate bunker to cope. We know her family is predicted to return carrying those corporate and personal bombshells from France.
Right, adding severe corporate pressure to her raw personal grief.
And Adam's difficult, noble journey to warn Victor is occurring at the exact time Victoria is at her absolute weakest point, dealing with a funeral, trying to process overwhelming regret all alone.
So the question is, does Adam's difficult journey to warn Victor, the essential act of saving the company, does that inadvertently become the final, overwhelming crisis dump delivered to an already broken, fragile Victoria?
Could it be the thing that pushes her decisively and irrevocably toward the predicted addiction storyline?
Good intentions might be paving the road to Victoria's catastrophic psychological breakdown. It's a tragic irony to consider. The corporate rescue mission may trigger the ultimate personal disaster. That's the high cost of this 2-week deep dive.